We are Holly and Adam from Social Good Families, and we're here to bring you an expert interview with the aim of helping us learn about how to be more effective in the ways that we engage in social good. And our focus today falls under the category of the United Nations Global Goal number 1, which is no poverty. We've asked Steve and Rachel Neiderhausern to help us out today, and thanks for being here, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
We're excited.
Before we dive in, just a little bit about these guys. Maybe you've already heard of them because they seem to be pretty famous these days. If you jump on Instagram and follow the Vons, they are tremendously passionate about alleviating poverty. They co-founded 2 nonprofits that focus on local and international humanitarian needs. One of them is called Family Humanitarian Experience. I actually went with our oldest daughter, Olivia, a few years ago to Guatemala. It was an amazing experience, and I was tremendously impressed with the structure and the framework of things. But essentially, it's a group that provides families the opportunity to empower communities through village-driven, sustainable projects in education or health or building infrastructure. I believe it's in Guatemala, Kenya, and Uganda. Is that right?
Yep.
So that's one.
And their other one is called Loaves and Fishes. It was founded in 2010, and it is a community meal program. It's in Logan, Utah, and they do it twice a month to provide nourishment, service opportunities, and stronger community relationships. So what I love is that they do this together with their 5 children. They include their 5 children in all
5,
of these
yeah. She
endeavors.
said 5.
I know.
5.
But they find ways to incorporate their kids in all of these humanitarian efforts, and I think it's so impressive, and I love it. Try to aspire to be like you guys.
For Social Good Families, we are always asking all of our friends, family members, everyone we come across to join the family and to choose a global goal that resonates with them most. Yeah. And Steve and Rachel, their family, the Vons, they said, I think if they had to choose one, because generally it sounds like you guys would prefer to just choose all 17. But if you have to choose one, it would be number 1, which is essentially trying to figure out how to end poverty. That's a big one.
It is.
We talked a little bit earlier about poverty, and you guys have a really interesting perspective and a few stories that come along with that on how you define poverty.
So poverty is very complex. And I think the typical perspective of poverty is thinking of somebody who has no money or who lives in a third world country. But through our experiences, we've really found out that there are 2 sides, well, multiple sides of poverty, but 2 very prominent sides of poverty. And that is first world poverty and the third world poverty. And what we mean by the first world poverty is that, well, I'll take it the other way. As far as third world poverty is concerned, they are deficient in wealth, in homes, in sanitation, all those wonderful things that the typical first world individual has. But their wealth, such as relationships and family and time and environment and nature, tends to be the first world's poverty. And so it's been very apparent as we've gone on a lot of these expeditions and brought expeditioners down that it's really a cultural, not just a cultural shock for them, but it's really an awakening for them, realizing how much they have and what they're missing from what these people in these third world countries have. And that's the time, the relationships, the family, everything from the heart. And so one story that really sticks out in my mind is there was this teenage boy who came on an expedition, and he was struggling with some things in his life. He was on drugs, he was drinking, dropping out of school, and just having a very difficult time. And he came on the expedition and quickly realized that life wasn't about himself. It was about the people around him.
How old was he?
I think he was 17.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came down with his family, and his parents they were wonderful, and you could really see that the family was starting to gel and unite on this expedition. And then he came back to the States, and then he requested that he requested to come back on the next expedition, but by himself. And he came and he worked his heart out. He loved the expedition, and then returned back home essentially a new person.
Can I ask what, when you say he worked his heart out, what was he doing?
Yeah, when you're on these expeditions, it's a lot of hard manual labor. Sometimes it's digging cement footings for a school by hand,
or mixing the cement, bags of cement, huge of water. Adam knows how that goes.
Yeah, it's a very manual process, and
he was also working a lot in the dental clinic. So he had gathered a lot of supplies for the dentists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then there's also planting trees, reforestation projects, but these aren't light trees. They're big 40, 50-pound trees that you're hauling up 200 yards.
Seeds.
Yeah. You're hauling them up a jungle mountain over your shoulder, and it's really blood, sweat, and tears. And you're doing all these things for the locals, but you're not just for the locals, but you're working alongside the locals, and you're building a relationship with them, and in return you're actually doing something for yourself as well. And so when he came back from that second expedition, he cleaned up his life, he became sober, graduated school, and now he's really moving on with his life, and he feels like a new person. And
wow.
So that's a great example of the first world poverty being identified, recognized, and then resolved, essentially.
Huh. Do you think that he recognizes his experience with your expedition as a turning point in his life?
I'm not sure. I can't speak for him in that sense, but I'm sure it had a pretty big impact.
His parents do. His parents, attribute those experiences to really, giving him that kind of awakening, and that kind of shake up. So
yeah, and there are skyrocketing numbers with depression and ADHD and suicide, and if you look at our society, it seems that we are really focused on ourselves or on our devices, and there's so many other things that contribute to those numbers. You can't say this is what causes that. But after having these experiences, I seem to have a pretty good understanding that there are some things that contribute to that about our current way of life. And so when you talk to the people down in Guatemala about suicides, of course there's oppression stuff, but they say they don't hear of suicides very often, and it's shocking because it's such a norm in our society, but down there it's very rarely heard of.
Do you explicitly state that they are poor in a different way? Do you explain this poverty to them and ask them explicitly that they need to meet with the local people in a way that they're not coming as kind of the savior complex, but they should be learning from them as much as they're teaching to them?
Yeah, we try to do that as much as possible. And, it takes, of course, time and learning, to totally shift a mindset. But you can tell, as we have orientation calls, and then as they come on the expedition, and especially more and more as we go, we're trying to incorporate those discussions into our program. And so they're talking about the poverty that they see around them at home, and talking about ways that they can take what they're learning and bring it back here, and then pointing out those opposites, about what's the wealth that we're seeing here, and how are they helping us to overcome some of our challenges. And I think, I hope that it's making a difference to them, and I think it does.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I've recognized is there's been a lot of damage done, unfortunately, by NGOs or nonprofits, because they go down and they gift. One of the locations in the area we serve, received $10,000 in medical equipment, um, an ambulance, all sorts of things. And when we went to go clean out this hospital, because we're going to pour cement floor for the labor and delivery unit, everything was still in boxes 10 years later. And there was that broken down ambulance to the side, and they said, well, we have no way to fix it. Once it broke down, we do not have any means to fix it. Wow. And so what we're trying to do is unravel what has been done and reverse it and help the communities understand what their potential is, what they can contribute, not expecting foreigners to come in and give and for them to receive, but we work together and we help you find your potential and identify leaders that will then distribute that across the communities.
And this is actually the lesson that is applicable to all people and across all cultures, that most people actually don't need someone to come give them something. They need someone to love them and to just bring hope that someone cares, and just give them some training and, help them know what their resources are around them. That applies, no matter where you live. And I think that's been one of the most eye-opening things for me, because sometimes in a family and with children, or where we live here, where we can actually give things so easily, that hurts people. And that hurts people here in a developed country, and it hurts people in a developing country. If you just think that you can go and give sheerly money or sheerly material things, because they can't use them most of the time, or they're not appreciated, or they don't have the means, or the ways to incorporate those things. And that's how it is here
that
too.
Cycle of neediness.
Exactly. And that is the poverty that we experience in a developed country, the poverty of neediness. And that, and so that lesson can be applied across the whole board.
Rachel, what's the flip side, the other side of poverty?
So in a developing country, they want resources, they want education, they want opportunities for work. And so when you don't have those things, then you're also just in a place of no hope, and no progression. And so they need new ideas and training and resources so that they can better, their systems and everything. So one example, just where we were able to help someone shift their mindset there, we did business trainings, small economic development trainings. And this one that we did was primarily for women. So we had about 20 or 25 women who would come, and a lot of them would have to walk 2 hours, and they would want to walk 2 hours to come get these trainings, because they don't have things provided for them like that anywhere nearby.
And just real quick, this isn't just a walk along a dirt road. I mean, this is a walk over mountain tops and peaks and valleys. And
so is this Guatemala you're talking about?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So this class, so they would come, and we were just teaching principles and concepts of money and budgeting. And in a lot of places where they depend on agriculture, their husbands get paid only seasonally. So they do have income coming in, but it's so little, and it doesn't spread out over 12 months. So we were doing different things to help them see how they might be able to spread it over the 12 months, so they wouldn't have to go into debt, and so that they'd be able to have consistency over the year. And after that class, then the next time we came back, one of the women, she just found us, and she was so excited, because she had been able to get out of debt, and she'd been able to send a child to school because she had practiced those principles of budgeting with her own family. And that was just one of the best feelings ever, to know that she learned something, and she was so hopeful now and so excited. And especially when a woman learns about those things, she will improve her home, her children, her community. And so it's just so exciting.
Yeah, the ripple effects are kind of immeasurable. And what I love about what you guys are doing is that you do repeat to the same location, so you can follow up and measure and track the progress and the impact that you're having. It's really a great thing.
That's the goal, and it's slow. It's progress is slow, and when our expeditioners come, you see just the tiniest fraction in a week, of what goes on. But even that tiny fraction just changes your heart.
And the key is we also have boots on the ground. So we work with local community leaders that continue on with the projects, and they keep going. So then we come back. We just get right back into it. So it's not like
we can communicate to you
locals
what
are
your real
working.
needs are, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're dictating what they need instead of the other way around, which is
right.
what Rachel was saying about how the give thing is just like, here, you must need this ambulance or whatever, right?
Yeah, because the goal is not to make them into us, because we have our own unique set of poverty. The goal is to come to a middle ground of abundance for all, where we are happy and so alive because we have so much abundance. And they are happy and alive because they have the resources that are provided around them, and they're, gaining education and bettering their homes and communities, just like we're trying to do here.
So if you guys could give us a few challenges on ways that families can be engaged in ending poverty. Just families who are listening to this, what can we do? Because like Steve, you said in the beginning, it's overwhelming. I mean, it's a complicated, complex issue. Break it down for us, really simple. How can our family get involved?
I think creating experiences for yourself is one of the most effective ways. And so putting yourself in a situation where you can see what's going on locally, not just how people are in need, but ways that you can actually contribute. So those could be through any type of food pantry or homeless shelters. There's a lot of programs where you can go and serve at homeless shelters. You probably hear a lot of people serving at dinners and lunches, but those fill up fast. But that's only seasonal, and so there's stuff that goes on throughout the entire year that they need help and assistance with.
Call a homeless shelter or a pantry or something like that, and just ask what you can do.
Yeah, and maybe even just drive there one day with your kids and go see what it's like there. Maybe ask for a tour. Maybe go see if you can, participate in anything that's going on that day, sorting stuff, or if they have any church services there or whatever.
Really, yeah, if there's a way if you can create a relationship with the people that are running the facilities and even just those individuals who are having a hard time, just sitting down and having a conversation with somebody really opens up your heart and your mind.
Yeah. And then we had one other idea too. So, and this is just a bite-sized one, so you can take this as small or as big as you want. But you take a family could take the Global Citizen Challenge and live on $1 a day per person. Their challenge is to do it for a week, but you could do it just for 2 days. And that would be a bite-sized way to really bring it home and experience what it's like to only eat the $1 amount of food for 2 days.
Now, okay, give us a little background.
Wait. One, I love it. And two, I'm pretty sure I recall hearing you did this.
Yeah, we did it for a week, and it's eye-opening.
Okay, wait. I want like the 3-minute version
tell us that story.
of the pain and anguish you went through.
Yes, we told our kids we were going to do this because, we want to experience it and, have compassion for these people. And it's totally eye-opening.
What were the rules of the game?
So it's $1 per person.
Okay.
Per day.
So but if someone offers you food, that's the food you buy. So if it's grown or someone offers you food, then you can do that, just as if someone was giving service to you. So we did it. So we planned out what we were going to eat, got the groceries, it's just a very small amount. And each day, we could have 1 egg, 1 piece of bread, a little bit of rice, some beans. Those are the cheapest things to eat.
Real rationing. Yeah.
Oh, yes. And by the second, third day, when you're cutting those vegetables, usually we're so unaware, you know, we just chop, throw away the end. Oh, but I was gnawing down to the very, very center of that end of that carrot. You know, you do not want to waste anything if you are doing that. And yeah, it's really eye-opening. And you're so grateful if anyone offers you, you know, just some little bite of something. Or on the very last day, my dad called and invited us, you know, to eat with them. And I almost cried. I was so grateful. I was so hungry.
Wait. It sounds like you did this and Steve was like in the basement eating donuts or something.
No, well, I was at work. I was scrounging. I was walking through the halls, seeing who had treats or Snickers or whatever on their desk that they were offering for free because I was hungry.
So when you guys say you were hungry, but when my kids are hungry, they are so vocal about it. Like, were your kids? How did they handle it?
Well, there was an eye-opening experience for our oldest son. He was sitting down at the table, and he said, "Oh, I'm just so starving." And then he was really hungry, put in that situation. But then he reflected back on the experiences he's had on these humanitarian expeditions, and he says, "Actually, I'm not starving. I'm really hungry." Mm. And at that point, it was just a light for all of us that it was sinking in. We knew he was having an experience that was life-changing for him, but it was also life-changing for us.
Yeah, it's really powerful.
Okay, I've had my kids say I'm starving before, and I'm the one that has to tell them, "You're not starving. You're hungry. There's a difference." But I love that your son was able to figure that out on his own because of the experiences that you've given him, which is incredible.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So as far as the bite-sized things go, for effectiveness, it's experiential learning. Putting yourself in a situation
where you're a little uncomfortable. Yeah. You have to go to somewhere where you're not used to going, which, you know, so there are so many of those places in any community. And then eat less than you're used to eating. That will awaken you, you know. It's
a necessity where you put a strain on your body and, you know, your behaviors change. They really do.
Wow. I'm excited and nervous to try that.
You'll have to let us know if you try it. You just do 2 days.
It's a new weight loss plan for me. I'm excited. I think it's going to be great. Okay, so thank you.
Yeah,
we have been watching from afar. We are very impressed with the amazing programs that you guys have built, the work that you guys do.
Yeah.
And if people want to learn more about what you do, where do they find you?
Well, as far as the humanitarian stuff is concerned, familyhumanitarian.org.
And cashlowsandfishes.org.
And then as far as a personal account goes, just our handle on social media is the Vaughn Family. So at the Vaughn Family. And that's a mixture of personal, travel, and humanitarian stuff that we're doing as well.
Lovely. Yeah, and you guys have the most amazing photography, and so it's fun to follow no matter what.
I think the most impressive is your ability to throw your child 6 to 10 feet in the air, snap a photo, and then catch him.
So there was actually a trick to that photo. We didn't actually throw him up. A plane just came by and dropped him off, and we just caught him.
Stop.
That's amazing.
That's more plausible.
That does look more plausible. The distance, the height, it's amazing.
Well, you're amazing. Thank you guys so much for all you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
It's the best to just have people who care about it and who are interviewing people, you know, and hearing about those global goals. That's how we help the whole world just come to abundance. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. And we want to thank everyone for listening. Yep. And you can check us out more on socialgoodfams.com and Instagram and Facebook at socialgoodfams. And stay tuned for the next expert interview. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.